My father called me a loser and uninvited me from the family vacation. I said no problem. 2 weeks later my dad texted, "Can you pay for your sister next semester?" I replied, "This loser won't send you a single dollar." 10 minutes later my phone blew up with 30 missed calls. You'd think paying for your sister's college tuition every semester would at least earn a thank you, maybe a call, a card, or literally any sign that you're more than an ATM with a pulse. But not in my family. In my family, I was always the difficult one, the independent one, the one who chose to move out early, chose to live far away, and chose this lifestyle. Meanwhile my little sister Emily, the delicate genius, could burn down the kitchen and still get applauded for trying her best. It's been that way since we were kids. When Emily spilled juice on mom's laptop, I got grounded because I was older and should have been watching her. When she failed math, I was forced to help her every evening, even if I had my own job or schoolwork to finish. Somehow her problems always landed in my lap. Fast forward to the last few years. I work in tech, mostly freelance contracts, web apps, small startups. It's unpredictable, but I manage. I'm not rich, but I cover my rent, build some savings, and live on my own terms. Still, somehow I got roped into covering Emily's college expenses. It started small. She needed help with books. Then rent. Then her car broke down. Then her roommate left. Then she had to switch majors. And somehow I became the fallback plan for everything. The worst part was that no one ever really asked. I just got guilt bombs from my parents. Late night calls from mom. Family emergencies. Subtle digs about how I had no kids, no mortgage, and more than enough money to help. At one point I was paying nearly $2,000 a month toward Emily's life, while she didn't even answer my texts. Then in June, out of nowhere, my dad called. I hadn't spoken to him in weeks. He didn't even say hello. He launched straight into a lecture about attitude and family priorities. Said I wasn't being supportive. Said I was creating division. And then he said it, "You're not coming on the family trip this year. You don't belong there with that attitude. You're a loser, Katie. You made your choices." There was a long pause. I didn't defend myself. I just said no problem and hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't vent to anyone. I just sat there processing how easy it was for him to erase me like that. All the help, all the money, all the bending over backward, gone with one word. 2 weeks later I was eating lunch when my phone buzzed. A text from my dad, "Can you pay for your sister next semester? She's short." No apology. No small talk. Nothing else. Just another assumption that I would step in and fix everything. I replied, "This loser won't send you a single dollar." 10 minutes later my phone exploded, 30 missed calls. Emily, my parents, even my aunt from Florida. No one wanted to understand. They just wanted things smoothed over, reset, put back the way they were. But I was done. I wasn't going to explain myself. I wasn't going to talk it through. For the first time I saw it clearly. I wasn't part of a family. I was part of a system that fed on me. So I decided to become exactly who they thought I was, the loser, the ungrateful daughter, the selfish one. And if they thought things were hard now, they had no idea what was coming next. The best part about being labeled the black sheep is that expectations disappear overnight. No more assuming I would fix everything. No more counting my money before I even earned it. The moment I sent that text, something shifted. I could feel it. My phone buzzed non-stop for hours. Dad called back to back. Mom left voicemails I never opened. Emily sent paragraph after paragraph about stress, anxiety, and how everything was falling apart. I didn't respond, not out of spite but because I didn't see the point. Every message sounded the same, panic mixed with entitlement. For years I had trained them to expect me. I answered every call. I smoothed every emergency. I paid every bill that made them uncomfortable. And the one time I didn't, they acted like the floor had vanished beneath their feet. 3 days later my cousin Sarah messaged me. She said she'd heard things were tense and asked if I was okay. I told her I was fine and asked why everyone was suddenly so concerned. She said my parents were stressed about money, that Emily might have to drop classes, that things were uncertain. That word stuck with me. Uncertain. My life had been uncertain for years and no one cared. Freelance contracts, late nights, weeks of non-stop work just to stay ahead, somehow my uncertainty never counted. I told Sarah I hoped things worked out and left it at that. A week passed, then another. Through family gossip, I heard that Emily missed the tuition deadline and had to move out of her apartment and back home. Apparently she was furious, not at the situation but at me. That part made me laugh. My parents had always insisted Emily needed independence, space, freedom to grow. Turns out that independence came with a monthly invoice I was expected to pay quietly. Without me, their version of stability collapsed fast. During that time I made a decision. If they thought I was irresponsible and selfish, I would stop correcting them. I stopped explaining. I stopped clarifying. I stopped proving anything. When my mom texted, "Call me when you calm down," I didn't reply. When my dad emailed asking if we could talk like adults, I ignored it. If someone sent a vague message about family issues, I responded with short, empty answers. That was rough. It drove them insane. They wanted the old version of me back, the one who over-explained, the one who panicked at silence, the one who rushed in to fix everything. Meanwhile, I was busy. Not busy doing anything dramatic, just living. Working, sleeping, normally going out with friends, saving money that actually stayed in my account for once. One night I checked my spam folder and found an email from my mom. Subject line only, "You've changed." No message. Just that. I stared at it and felt something close to relief, because she was right. I had changed, and for the first time that change was entirely for me. What they didn't know was that while they were scrambling to cover the gaps I used to fill, I had just signed a contract that would completely change my finances. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't hint. I let them assume the worst. If I was the loser now, I was going to play the part perfectly. That's when they started trying harder. By mid-September, the silence had become too loud for them. They cracked. It started with small, awkward attempts to reset the vibe, my mom commenting on old Facebook photos I didn't even remember existed. Pretty girl under a picture from 2018. Miss this day beneath a blurry snapshot of a family barbecue I barely remembered enjoying. Then came the boxes. At first I thought someone had the wrong address, but no, they were from her. A pair of fuzzy socks. A candle. A paperback novel I'd mentioned liking years ago. No note. Just these awkward little bribes, like she hoped I'd forget everything if I inhaled enough vanilla-scented wax. I didn't respond. Then came the email from my dad. Subject line, "Quick update." It was anything but quick, 3 paragraphs. The first about how resilient Emily was being. The second about how tight things were financially with tuition, rent, and car repairs. And the third was the pitch: if you're able to contribute anything, even a few hundred, it would make a huge difference for your sister. We know things were said, but she really needs her big sister right now. I sat with that email for a while, not because I was tempted but because I realized they still didn't get it. They still thought this was about money, that my silence was something to be bargained with. 3 days later, Emily called me herself. I picked up, not to talk, just to listen. She tried to sound neutral. Said she was stressed. Said she knew things were weird but didn't want us to be distant forever. She even said, "I kind of get it now," which was rich considering she was still living rent-free in a house I helped keep afloat for 3 years. Eventually she got to the point. She needed help with a class. Said it was required. Said financial aid had fallen through. Said it was only $1,100. I said, "I'll think about it." Then I blocked her again. It wasn't about the money. I had the money, far more than she knew. What I no longer had was the willingness to be used just because it was easier for them than being honest. What none of them knew was that while they were busy trying to patch the holes I'd left behind, I had just signed a contract with a startup, a product management role, fully remote, 6 months, $12,000 a month, plus a hefty bonus for hitting deliverables early. The old me would have told them. Would have softened the blow with "don't worry, I'll help out again soon." Would have let them believe things were going back to normal. But this time I wanted to see what they'd do without the safety net. Bits of information started reaching me anyway. A family friend mentioned my mom had picked up a part-time job at a gift boutique on weekends. A cousin said my dad had quietly taken out a personal loan. Emily was back living at home and apparently in a bad mood every day, which made me grin. Every time someone mentioned how much they were struggling, my only thought was good. They should struggle. They should sit in the mess they built and realize the person they treated as disposable was the one holding everything together. I went low contact with everyone. No more vague "hope you're doing okay" messages. No more polite replies to check-ins. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. And while they were melting down, I was planning a vacation. I hadn't traveled in 2 years, not because I couldn't but because I was always on call. Now I was off the clock. I booked a flight somewhere warm and beautiful. 4 days. A villa with friends, a private pool and ocean view. I packed swimsuits ID never let myself wear before and a dress ID bought months ago and never taken the tags off. When we landed and the heat hit my face, I took a picture. All of us in the water, drinks in hand, real smiles, no stress anywhere near us. I posted it with no explanation, no caption, no context. They saw it within an hour. I didn't tag anyone, but I knew, because the next morning I woke up to 5 texts from my mom: "We just want our family back. Please call. Let's talk when you're ready." I stared at the screen sitting by the pool, sunlight on my legs, coffee in my hand, and realized I didn't feel sad. I felt entertained. For once I wasn't the one begging. The morning after I posted the vacation photo, my phone didn't just light up, it went feral. Missed calls stacked on top of each other like spam. Emily. An aunt. Someone saved his home. I didn't even know who that was. I didn't listen to anything. I silenced the phone and went downstairs to meet my friends for breakfast. That was the part that surprised me most. I felt normal. No pit in my stomach. No urge to explain myself. The ocean was right there. The air smelled clean. For once nothing was pulling at me. Later that afternoon, while everyone else was swimming, I finally checked my messages. Emily had sent one that stood out: "Why would you post something like that knowing what we're dealing with?" I didn't respond. Then I saw a text from an unknown number. No name, no emoji, just one sentence: "You should probably ask your dad about the account." That stopped me cold. I stared at the screen longer than I should have. I hadn't mentioned any account to anyone in years. I didn't reply. I didn't ask who it was. I turned my phone face down and went back outside, but the rest of the day felt different, like something had shifted beneath everything. I finished the trip without letting it ruin anything. We drank too much. We stayed up late. I laughed more than I had in months. I even posted another photo on the last night: sunset, bare feet, no caption at all. When I got home, the first thing I did was open my laptop. Years earlier, when I started helping Emily, my dad had insisted we set up a shared account. He said it would be cleaner, easier to track, just for family stuff, tuition, rent, emergencies. I hadn't logged into it in over a year because I trusted him. That part was on me. The login still worked. At first what I saw didn't make sense. My deposits were there like clockwork, large consistent payments. But so were withdrawals I didn't recognize. Not small ones. Big casual ones. A weekend resort charge. A fancy restaurant nowhere near Emily's campus. Monthly payments for a car lease I knew she didn't drive. I kept scrolling. That was the moment everything snapped into place. They hadn't just leaned on me. They hadn't just depended on me. They had been quietly using the money I sent for Emily to fund their own lifestyle. And when I cut them off, the whole thing collapsed because there was nothing underneath it. No backup plan. No savings. Just me. I closed the account that same night, moved the remaining balance, changed every password, removed myself from shared documents. Anything that even smelled like access was gone. 2 days later, Emily showed up at my apartment. No warning, no text, just a knock. I opened the door enough to see her standing there, backpack on, hair pulled back, looking smaller than I remembered. She said she didn't know. She said Dad told her ID stopped helping because I was angry and unstable. She said she thought he was covering the rest himself. I told her to think about that for a second. She didn't argue. She just stood there. Then she asked if we could talk inside. I said no. I told her she didn't get to opt out of responsibility anymore. That whatever story she believed didn't change the reality. That I wasn't fixing this one. She asked what she was supposed to do now. I said figure it out. Like I did. Then I closed the door. That night my dad sent me a message that wasn't angry or apologetic. It was calculated. He said families make mistakes, that we shouldn't let money destroy us, that we could start fresh if I was willing to be reasonable again. I read it once and deleted it. The truth was I had already moved on, and they could feel it. After I shut the door on Emily and blocked every financial back door they'd used to drain me, things went quiet. Not real silence, just the kind you get when someone is thinking too hard about their next move. I'd seen this pattern before. It's the cycle of manipulation. First guilt, then anger, then desperation dressed up as kindness. When all of that fails, they start pulling levers, convinced you're too scared to cut them off for good. This time they tried everything. 3 days after my dad's final message, the faux olive branch with the quiet demand for money, I got a call at work from reception. Someone claiming to be my mother had phoned the office asking to speak with me directly. She said it was urgent, that I wasn't answering my phone, and she needed to confirm I was okay. My manager mentioned it casually on our weekly call, half laughing. "Your mom sounds sweet," he said. "A little intense." I smiled, said she was just worried, and inside I was furious. I had never given her my workplace information. Not officially. She must have pieced it together through a client testimonial or stalked LinkedIn long enough to find me. Either way, it was invasive and deliberate. So I messaged her directly, "Don't ever contact my workplace again. This is harassment. I'm not playing games with you." She didn't respond. Instead, she escalated. The next day my Aunt Lisa, who never calls unless someone has died, rang me in the middle of lunch. Her voice was shaky. She said my mom wasn't sleeping. That Emily was talking crazy, thinking about dropping out. That my dad was humiliated because now everyone in the extended family knew I'd abandoned them. I asked her one question. "Lisa, did anyone tell you I paid Emily's expenses for 3 years?" Silence. "No." "Then maybe don't call me crying about what they think they lost." I hung up. 2 hours later I got a text from Emily. After weeks of silence, no apology, no acknowledgement, just this: "Dad's furious. He says you stole from the family account. Don't pretend you're a victim." I read it twice. Then I blocked her again. Let them talk. Let them twist it. Let them rewrite the whole story to paint me as the villain. I didn't care anymore because I had one thing they couldn't touch now: freedom. And I wasn't done using it. That weekend I booked another trip, this time to Portugal. I'd always wanted to go but never had the time. The timing never felt right. Until now. There was always an emergency, a tuition deadline, some new mess I was expected to help clean up. But no, the only deadline I had now was my flight. I didn't tell anyone. I packed a bag, boarded the plane, and left. I stayed in a small apartment in Porto close to the water. I drank wine with strangers who didn't know my name. I ate food I couldn't pronounce. I slept in. On the 3rd day I posted one picture, a close-up of a ceramic plate with grilled octopus, crusty bread, and a full glass of white wine. No caption. No tags. It didn't matter. They saw it. The next day I got an email from my dad with the subject line, "Where we go from here?" Attached was a spreadsheet, an actual Excel file, titled Family Budget 2026. I opened it out of morbid curiosity. He had listed every expense: Emily's tuition, car insurance, therapy, utilities, books, internet, gas, even groceries. Then he added a column labeled projected assistance from Katie and filled in a number. $1,500 a month. At the bottom there was a note: if you're serious about rebuilding trust, this is how you show it. I stared at the screen, half laughing. They weren't even hiding it anymore. No manipulation. No fake sweetness. Just expectation. I closed the file and never replied. When I got home, there was a letter waiting for me at the front desk of my apartment building. A physical letter. No return address. Inside it said, "You've made your point. Can we please talk like adults now?" Dinner. No judgment. Just family. It was signed, Mom, Dad, and Emily. They were cornered. I could feel it. Not financially, emotionally. Their whole structure had collapsed. The strong, united family image was shredded. People were starting to ask questions they didn't have answers to. They didn't know how to function without someone filling the gaps. So they invited me to dinner at their house. Promised no guilt, no lectures, just one peaceful evening to clear the air. I said yes. Not because I wanted peace. Not because I needed closure. I said yes, because I was ready to give them one final chance to be honest, and one final answer they weren't expecting. Dinner was set for Sunday night at 6. Their house. The one I'd practically funded from the shadows for 3 years. I hadn't been there since before everything fell apart. Not since the day my dad called me a loser and uninvited me from a vacation I probably paid for. I didn't dress up. I didn't bring anything. No wine. No dessert. No nervous energy. Just myself. Emily opened the door. She looked exhausted, hair tied back, hoodie on, dark circles under her eyes. The golden girl glow was gone. Behind her, my parents were already seated at the table, stiff and waiting like it was a court hearing. We didn't hug. We didn't say hello. We sat. The table was set like they were playing family again. Napkins folded. Overcooked chicken in the center. It smelled like effort, but the air was tight. For a full 5 minutes no one spoke. Then my mom started. She said she wanted things to be normal again. That she missed when we were close. That she didn't recognize who I'd become. My dad picked it up from there. He said I'd made my point, that I'd clearly needed space. That the budget had been a mistake, just an idea, just numbers. Emily said she was sorry. She said she didn't know everything. She said she was just scared. I hated her. Then they all sat there waiting like that was supposed to be enough. Maybe once it would have been. But I didn't owe them tears or explanations or anything at all. So I took a breath and said this: I think we should all just forget it. My mom blinked. What do you mean? I mean, let's stop pretending any of this makes sense. Let's stop trying to reset something that never worked in the first place. You called me when you needed money. You insulted me when I stopped. You didn't like who I was unless I was useful. So now I'm just not useful and we don't need to fix it. We can just be done. No one said anything. I looked at Emily. I hope you graduate. I really do. But you'll have to do it like the rest of us, on your own. Then I stood up. No shouting. No door slamming. No dramatic monologue. Just a quiet end to something that should have ended a long time ago. I walked out, drove home, put my phone on silent, and just like that the weight disappeared. They didn't call the next day or the day after. No guilt trips. No budget files. No mysterious packages at my door. It was over. And strangely, it didn't feel like losing a family. It felt like stepping out of a trap. These days I don't post much. I don't need to. I go where I want. I eat what I like. I pay for exactly one person, me. They can call me a loser if they want, but I've never felt more like I won. It's been 6 weeks since that dinner. 6 weeks since I stood up from that table, said we didn't need to fix anything, and walked away from a dynamic I'd been stuck in since I was a teenager. No explosions. No second thoughts. Just silence. At first I waited for something, a guilt text, a rage-filled voicemail, one of those "you misunderstood us" essays they loved writing. But nothing came. Not even from Emily. It's like they finally understood I meant it. And honestly, that scared me more than the noise ever did. Because when people stop reaching out that fast, it makes you wonder how real the relationship ever was. Turns out the moment I stopped providing, the connection stopped existing. But here's the thing, the silence didn't hurt the way I thought it would. It felt clean. After the 3rd week, I started noticing something strange. I wasn't checking my phone every 5 minutes anymore. I wasn't rehearsing conversations in my head. I wasn't flinching every time I saw a family name in my inbox, because they weren't showing up at all. And in that space I started living like a whole person. I launched a side project I'd been putting off for a year. I caught up on sleep. I finally joined the yoga studio down the street. I reconnected with a friend I hadn't seen since college, someone who in a single 2-hour coffee date gave me more genuine warmth than my family had in years. I also checked in with my bank just out of curiosity. And I saw something I'd never really seen before: stability. Not just financially, but in energy, in routine, in peace. My parents weren't draining my savings with fake emergencies. Emily wasn't hovering over my shoulder with another "this will be the last time" favor. I wasn't waking up already feeling behind before the day had even started. Last weekend my cousin Sarah messaged me. She said she'd heard I'd gone off the grid and that people were wondering if I was okay. I told her I'd never been better. She replied quietly, "Good for you. I wish I could do what you did." I told her she could. She didn't answer. I know there's a version of this story that ends with a dramatic reconciliation, a tearful reunion where everyone finally understands. But real life isn't a movie. Sometimes the best ending is walking away and letting the credits roll in silence. And that's exactly what I'm doing. No more updates. No more comebacks. No more fixing anything. I'm out.